Interview with Meg McDonald and John Bell. Meg is the 2025 recipient of the Bouddi Foundation for the Arts Grant for Creative Writing, sponsored by Alan Unwin. She is a lecturer and tutor of creative writing at the University of Wollongong, where she is currently completing her PhD in creative writing. The Bouddi Foundation grant funds a writing trip to the Central Coast with a focus on climate change and response to the changing world. She will be interviewed by none other than the fabulous John Bell, who is the president of the Bouddi Foundation and Arts. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. The Bouddi Foundation for the Arts, I'm sure most of you will be very familiar with it by now, but just a quick update on our activities. It's now our 16th year of operation, and so far we've been able to grant over $600,000 to over 320 young artists. It's good, yeah. And we also offer them, of course, mentorship and professional guidance, as well as the cash prizes. And one of our grantees last year is Meg McDonald, awarded the Alan and Unwin Writers Award. One of the awards, they've presented several, and that was donated by Patrick Gallagher, who was the head of Alan and Unwin in Australia. Now, Meg, I'm going to start at the beginning. How long have you been writing, and what started you on the track?
Well, firstly, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very honoured to be here. I've been writing for a really long time. I mean, I think that's what every writer would say. But I started writing when I was very little. And then, it's kind of progressed from there. But, yeah.
Have you had any particular teachers or mentors or tutors who've pushed you along?
Oh, yes, 100%. I had my year one English teacher definitely saw my potential. And I remember he said to my mum once at a teacher interview, she'll make a good writer one day. So, yes, thank you to Mr. Boyd. But as I've gone on through kind of my schooling career, I've had amazing teachers. And then I went on to university, and my tutors there have been phenomenal. And now that I'm completing my PhD, it's all down to my supervisors, Catherine McKinnon and Joshua Lobb, who are two phenomenal writers. So, yes.
So, as well as these particular tutors, and other writers inspire you? Are there any other Australian writers particularly who've influenced you or who you particularly admire?
Yes, well, we were talking before, I just finished rereading Charlotte Wood's The Unnatural Way of Things, if anyone has read it. It is probably top 5 favourite books. It is an incredible story. And every time, I read it for the first time when I was, it would have been years ago now, and I was kind of in my early 20s. And I remember just kind of being in awe of this story and kind of the women in this story and what they have to go through. And now reading it years later, it just opened a new perspective for me. So yes, I love that novel. I've also been reading a lot of Robbie Arnott, who he released a new book last year, but his kind of 2 first books are also some of my favourite novels. And the way he writes about kind of the environment, especially the Australian environment, is just, incredible. So, they're kind of 2 writers I look up to.
I read all the short stories you submitted to the foundation. And you seem very occupied with climate change, as a lot of young writers are, and necessarily so. But they're not just talking about bushfires and floods and so on. They're talking on a much more symbolic level. There's one called Shells that really intrigued me. Tell us a bit what Shells is about.
So I guess I am very interested in climate change, especially as a young person, and kind of what it means for us in the future. And kind of the thing I keep coming back to is, how do we write about something like climate change that feels really big, but how do we kind of put this kind of non-human thing into kind of a human frame of mind? And so I tend to approach climate change through kind of intimate stories. So Shells kind of follows this story of this young girl who her parents are going through a divorce and she can't kind of comprehend that. And so her mum takes her and her brother to the beach and she collects shells, and she's kind of adamant that she's going to go home and show her father, but she forgets. And so then the story kind of cuts to a few months later where he's moved out of the house and she's gone to visit him. And, you know, he's living with this new woman and, you know, they go looking for shells again, and she kind of lines her bedroom window with shells. And then for her birthday, the woman gifts her this shell necklace, but the shells are fake and they're pink. And she's told that she's supposed to be appreciative and to, you know, be thankful for these shells, but for her, they're not real, they're not, you know, they're fake. And she kind of has this realization, even though it's told from the point of view of the child, this very adult realization that the world around her is not what she thinks it is, and it's changing before her, and she can't quite kind of grasp why that's kind of happening. So yeah, it's
sounds very, very quite profound way of looking at something like climate change. It makes it a very personal story, one that really resonates. You had a big success with your play called Draw 2 at the old Fitz Theatre in Sydney. Is that going on somewhere else now, or has it been anywhere else?
Yes, so I wrote a one-woman play called Draw 2, which had its premiere season at the Old Fitz Theatre. If anyone's ever been there, it's essentially... Oh, great. It's my favourite theatre, or one of my favourite theatres, I should say, but it's basically at the bottom of this pub. So it's kind of, you know, from the street you don't really see it, but it's a really great theatre. But yeah, I had the play on there, and then we were lucky enough. It received great reviews, and the season completely sold out and was extended, and was amazing. So we toured it to Melbourne, where it also, you know, has, audiences really liked it. So hopefully it has another life. We'll see what happens.
That's great. So you're writing any more plays, or you're putting those aside for the moment?
I'm not writing any new plays at the moment, but hopefully doing something with Draw 2, and some of my other plays that I've written will hopefully see a stage one day, but yeah.
Okay. But you're writing a new novel instead of a new play, is that right?
Yes, I've decided to write a novel, which I'm very daunted by, but I keep reminding myself it's just one word at a time. But yes, my novel kind of creates the creative component of my PhD, and I'm exploring male violence in that novel, but again through kind of how do we talk about this kind of big thing that is affecting the whole of society, but through a kind of very intimate lens. So yeah, that novel kind of follows this girl this young woman who is kind of confronted with the fact that her brother is abusive towards his partner, and kind of the ripple effects of what that does to her family and society around her, and how she kind of comes to understand him. And I guess what I'm interested in exploring is kind of this fine line between trying to understand someone and trying to explain them and explain their actions. And I guess kind of in particular to that novel, what I'm interested in this idea of responsibility. You know, what responsibility do we have for others, but also what responsibility do we owe ourselves, especially for this protagonist, like her choices and her actions and the way she views what has happened is different to what people expect of her, especially her family. And so, you know, kind of how does she kind of go through that? But anyway, it's still very early days. But
No, you've thought it through very well, but you haven't decided how it finishes yet.
No, not yet.
Well, you know, I said to David Malouf once, do you know how this book's going to finish? He said, well, if I knew that, I wouldn't have to write it.
Exactly.
And I think that is partly what writing's about, isn't it? Exploring something and see where it takes you rather than where you take it. Would that be correct?
Yeah, well, I guess I often think of I remember doing like year 8 science in I can't remember what they're called, those little dishes that you like put, Petri dishes, and you put germs on and you see what grows. I kind of think of my writing like that, which is like a bit odd. But I guess they're kind of, you know, we'll just see what happens and see where it goes. But yeah, I mean, I have ideas, but I'm always, I think, you know, when you are with a character for so long, sometimes they kind of tell you how they want their story to end. So I'm just waiting for that moment.
That's wonderful. Look, I think probably our time is up. All too brief from my point of view. I think that was a lovely interview, and I think your writing is really very interesting. Great sense of responsibility to ourselves and to those around us, and I wish you luck with all the projects in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.